Hi, Skrizzly. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to the podcast.
Happy to be here. We are both in Saskatoon at the moment
Yes,
via
which
podcast. Very cool.
I know we could have done it in person, but it's raining. It's raining outside. So,
Yeah, and I don't leave the house. Screw that. Yeah, for sure.
yes, and I want to get into how on earth you ended up in
For
Saskatoon. We'll
sure.
get there eventually
Question I get every day.
via
Um,
via New Jersey. But first, I want to know how you keep yourself well, because this is a broad
that's
question,
okay.
but it opens many avenues.
Okay, let's create like a tree diagram. Like well, I guess is like the very top thing. There's probably like physical wellness and then there's mental wellness. Let's start with physical. In terms of physical, there's the pride. What's the word I'm looking for? Um, what's preventative? What's the word you're looking for when you're trying to
Proactive.
keep yourself you're
Proactive.
trying to keep yourself well from getting sick. What's the word? There's a word for it.
I mean, proactive immunity.
Immunity. That's the word I'm looking for.
Immunity.
Immunity.
Okay,
Yeah. Like
got it.
in terms of like physical wellness, there's like proactive, like just proactive immunity, and then there's physical wellness in the sense of like keeping yourself fit, and if you're my job requires a certain level of endurance, like so. Um, I mean, you are what you eat. I guess that like that's like the most important answer. I can't say I'm like great at it, but it's like if I it's like having a good chemistry between what you have to do that day or the next 5 hours or the next 10 days and like what you're putting into your body and then what the goals are at that time. So it's like if I know I have to sing or I have to be away from food for 4 hours and like it requires me screaming into a microphone for 3 hours and then 2 hours of me signing things, like I know I need carbs in my body, even if it's like sugar or whatever like that, because I'm going to be doing whatever to, you know what I mean?
You have to be sustained.
Just I have to sustain exactly. That's the difficult part. So we can talk about that in depth probably more later or whatever. But then the other thing is just like um, preventing yourself from getting sick. Rule number one for that while traveling and in my job is just like don't eat sketchy food. Like I was in Denver, Colorado. I don't know why. I went to some pub and ate fish and chips, and it was like the sketchiest fish and chips. And you better believe it was the night before the show. I was on the toilet, like vomiting my brains out for like 6 hours. But at the same time, I don't have it with me. I have a friend who like really, really understands. I have a friend who really understands these type of things, but like I do, what do you call it? Oregano oil pills. You familiar with that at all?
Yeah, yeah. I've
Oregano
used
oil
it in the
pills.
past. Yeah.
That then I do some type of like posts or probiotic. I don't fucking know.
Probiotic.
I take that, and I'm instantly better in like 2 hours. So
Whoa.
that works. So I always have those two things on me. And then there's like I guess you kind of get like I don't naturally get sick. I'm very, very lucky. I've had like almost no sick days in my entire life. I just don't get sick very, but you get like under the weather and like then you can't sing. Like I guess like what would be like a general cold. What is it? It's right here. Yeah. This elderberry. This will
Yeah.
cure like
I
this is when I when I learned about this is when I realized that all medicine is a scam. All chemical medicine is a scam because it's like I was in Nashville and I was like under the weather and like I couldn't sing and I was like clearly had some type of cold thing, whatever. So I'd walk to the 7-Eleven and I would get the, whatever. You take a tablespoon of that thing and you feel better for 6 hours. And then after that, you're sick again. And I'm doing that every day for 3 days until I'm healed. And then my friend told me to just get this. And then 3 hours later, I was completely healed. And this is literally just from a fucking berry. Whereas the other thing is like a bunch of chemicals. So that's immunity. Physical wellness is just really what you eat, and then obviously there's the fitness element of that. And then mental health is a different thing. So answering like 18 questions at once. Would you like to dictate which way we go?
Yeah, well, that's perfect because I this is exactly what I love. Like for some people, it's just the focus on physical, some just the mental. So I think you did a good job. Like immunity, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
Grizzly
The
Adams
show
has
has to go
no one
on.
to step on if you take a sick day. So that's,
Yeah,
of
we can't
course.
have a
So
sick day, so, like, managing immunity is, like, so like,
yeah.
I can't get sick, like, we just can't miss a day, so that's, like, the most important thing, yeah,
Yeah. And sleep's probably a big part of that
for
as well,
sure.
I imagine.
I'm very big on sleep. I do 9 to 10 hours a day, which is way more than most people, but I
Amazing.
sleep a lot every day, and I don't compromise that at all. Because the moment I get up to the moment I go to bed, I'm doing stuff. I'm
Yeah.
never sitting down, like, watching TV or anything. So, I'd rather sleep the extra 2 hours and just have a really fucking a good day, you know?
I appreciate that because I say it all the time. Often we think that it's, we're a hero to grind for 18 hours or 16 hours or whatever it is, but you're not efficient, right? Like if you're
No,
sleeping and then you're efficient for those 8, 9, 10, 12, whatever hours you're applying yourself, you're going to get so much more
so much
done.
better. I forget where it was. I saw like an interview with like some type of doctor, and it was like, I think it was the interviewer asked the doctor like, what percentage of the human race is immune to like can sustain without being affected with less than 7 hours of sleep, and the answer is zero. Like everyone's like, I had 4 hours of sleep last night. I had 5 hours of sleep. It's like, well, you are running below your peak ability. That's a fact. You know what I mean? So it's like if you want to have 4 hours of sleep, just know you're not going to be at your best. And if
Yeah.
you're cool with that, that's on you. You know?
And people adapt thinking that they're optimized, but it's not. You're just used to
No,
working subpar. So I think that's amazing. And
exactly.
must be a challenge when you're running like late shows
For
to
sure.
prioritize that.
I think the biggest difficulty with that is just like, and again, that goes back to like when you're planning out what you're eating and stuff. It's like if I'm on the road, I mean, I'm eating whatever this amount of jerky with this boiled egg or whatever. It's like it's knowing that you have to kind of be 2 steps ahead. You know what I mean? It's like if you know you're going to be up till 2 in the morning, you have to the 2 days leading up to it. You have to take the proper steps, whether it's the nap at the right time. You know what I mean? Especially if you have to be up again the next day at 6. So it's like you only have 4 hours. Where are you going to get the other 4 hours? You know?
Yeah.
Again, it's all about being well proactive and organized. You know?
Yeah. Just having that plan, like looking at the week in advance. Because how many days, like generally, if you're on tour, how many days a week are you performing? Are you going
Um,
day after day?
like no, I can't. I can't sing. I haven't figured it out. I need to see a doctor or somebody. I can't sing. If I do a full show, I can't sing more than 2 days in a row without losing my voice. So the most I'll ever do is like 4 in a week. Um, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But and it
Um,
must feel like I mean, it is, it's a workout. Like you said, you need that
oh,
endurance. You're giving so much for those few hours.
oh, for sure. I mean, I don't know, maybe like one of those watches or whatever, but I'm confident I'm burning in calories in the thousands. I'm very because I'm literally screaming, and it's nonstop screaming. There's no guitar solo or drum solo or there's nothing else going on. It's just me screaming for 2.5 hours. You know what I mean? So it's like imagine yourself just screaming the loudest you can for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's fucking exhausting. Yeah,
And under lights, and
for
you're
sure.
using so much like our brain burns so many calories. You're using so much cognitive energy with lyrics and then interacting with fans
For sure.
after. Yeah.
Yeah, like because in the one man show, like everything is connected to itself. What's happening with this hand is what's happening with this hand. What is happening with my mouth? What is happening with my brain? What's happening the way I'm standing? Everything is like you're on top of all of it at once, and you can't stop and fix it. Like you never. There's no stopping point. There's no like with a band ensemble. Like the guitar player can cut out for a second and go fix himself. There's none of that. Like there's the train doesn't stop. Um, so there's a lot of thinking. I think the best way I describe it, I don't know if this is even applicable to the conversation, but it's interesting, is like there's so much going on that you're at a certain point, at a certain point, you're no longer, it's hard to explain. Like you're very mindful, you're like, okay, like I should step a little bit this way, or like, okay, like your voice is making all these different adjustments to what they're hearing and how you're sounding, and if your voice is about to give out what you're gonna do. But at a certain point, you leave your body, like you leave your body, and I'm here and my mind is here and it's just watching what's going on. I don't want to say autopilot because autopilot's not the right word because it's like I can be having full on conversations in my head, watching myself while I'm singing, 300 words in a row. Um, it's very, I mean, that comes from, I guess, 10,000, whatever, X amount of hours where it's like there's this I'm not quite sure what I'm saying,
No, no,
but
I
it's
think like
definitely what's happening.
a flow state, maybe,
Yeah,
like,
flow state for
just
sure. It's very, meditative, I guess. You're not like, "This is the next lyric, I'm gonna" like, I have no idea what's even going on with my hands at this point. I don't think about it. If I start thinking about it no, in Atlanta, I had, like, a childhood friend who lived in Atlanta, and I did my first show there some point last year, and we were at dinner before, and I play, like, 34 songs on average a show, and he goes like he's like shout out John Berman. He'll always say the wrong thing at the wrong time. And he goes like, that's like his thing. And he goes like, how do you remember all the words? And I'm like, I've never thought about that before. And he's like, yeah, like you can just forget them. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And then at one point in the night, I just saw him in the crowd, and I was just like, I totally forgot. I'm like, now I forgot. You
yeah.
totally remember me. I've never thought about that before. I've never forgot a word before because of that.
You're like, "New fear unlocked."
Yeah, new
Thank you
fear
so much.
unlocked.
That's a
Fucking
good friend.
yeah,
Do
John
you
Berman.
find it hard to sleep after you get off stage? Because I can imagine, like, your adrenaline must be just
Sure.
pumping.
Yes, it's very hard. It's funny. You don't have an appetite. Even if you haven't ate for hours, you don't have an appetite at all. Like, try eating eggs, you're gonna throw up. Like, it's crazy. Like, you'd think you'd want to inhale like a full steak. That's not the case. You don't want to eat. You don't want to do anything. That's like the honest answer. Like, you lay in bed, you're just like, well, I can't sleep. Um, Yeah, no, it's actually an extremely depressing time too. I'm not the only person who says that for sure. You get like super, super depressed afterward. And there's no like logical, like, oh, I missed that. It's just like you just feel like very empty afterward. Um, and I what if okay, my thing is I've learned to not sleep in the town I'm performing in. I'll drive 3 to 5 hours to another town and listen to music, and then a new train of thought starts in my head. We're like, oh, tomorrow we're gonna do this, or like this song, like a new. You kind of just move on from the show if you're driving for 3 more hours. You know what
Well,
I
it
mean?
gives
Not
you
that
like
nothing bad happened in the show. The show was amazing, whatever. But like you just move on.
it
You know?
gives you like a coming down period as well
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
supposed
there's
to like
probably components to that coming down part, like your adrenaline's so high, you're getting so much energy from the crowd. And this might be an obscure comment, but I think a lot of artists are very empathic. And so you're also like getting and receiving so much energy from the crowd. So that coming
oh
down, I can imagine like there's an emotional
Oh,
component.
what you're it's probably just like the like, coming down off sugar, coming down off caffeine, coming down off any drug. I mean, adrenaline's a drug. Just that's all it is. It's
Yeah.
literally just science. I think you nailed it. Like you're looking for a reason to be sad, but you can't find it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like a physical thing for sure.
So do you find then when you're on like longer breaks between like tours and performances, do you feel low, or is it more just in that like immediate come off of a show, or are you
It's
craving
just
that?
the immediate come off. Like you want to like call somebody or text somebody, and then in the morning you didn't. You're like in the morning, like, well, I'm glad I didn't because there's no point. You know what I mean? And it's like not like I was
Going
drunk.
through the Rolodex of ex-girlfriends, you're like, no,
Yeah. Who am I texting? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
don't do it. But I think, well, I would like to talk about this if you're open to it and getting into like mental and physical health. As
Okay.
I have seen, you don't drink alcohol,
Sure.
and I can imagine that feeling is why a lot of artists and performers seek alcohol and party and drugs after a performance because it kind of keeps that lull from coming in.
Sure. I agree with that. I want to get to that in a sec, but I think one thing I want to bring attention to that, like, I hope somebody hears this out there. This is like would be helpful. There are so many like memories in my brain, and I'm sure like millions of artists or whatever, even aspiring, whatever, like anyone who's been on a stage and had a good time, like they have all these memories in their memory bank of them being drunk and like things feeling awesome and like I'm a fucking rock star and this is great. And you immediately affiliate alcohol with that. And like this even goes for like whatever, like really fun nights with friends and stuff too. And you affiliate this like euphoric feeling with the alcohol. Alcohol has a euphoric feeling. It lasts about 10 minutes. That's it, like 10 minutes, then it goes down. Then you realize once you remove it, that euphoric feeling was part of the context of the situation. It actually wasn't from alcohol at all. So if I can pass off one message, it's that like there's
Well,
so many good memories you could have actually had that weren't a product of alcohol. It's just you had
yeah,
an affiliation with it. That's all it was.
giving it the credit, but it wasn't the cause.
Yes. Yes, yes, totally. And then yeah, I mean, I mean, my 2 cents is like to your first comment is like, I mean, drinking and doing drugs after a show, like you'll feel better after the show, but you'll feel terrible in the fucking morning. So it's like you're just delaying the bad feeling.
Yeah,
I'd rather fucking feel bad at night and it'd be erased from my memory in the morning. So
yeah.
we gotta go. Like we got things to
Have a
do,
good sleep and wake up and do it better
Yeah.
next
'Cause like
day.
waking up feeling hungover or drunk and then having to play that night is really difficult. Like I don't know how people do it. I don't know why they do it. That's a choice. Um,
Well, and like to see you on stage, like you said, 34 songs is that's crazy. Like that's
yes,
hours, just you. Like you said, there's no backup support. It's like an athletic event. You are
oh,
hydrating, and imagine like to be drinking during that and after it. I can't even imagine like the quality of what your career will be moving forward, not having that component
I
as
think it's like having alcohol. The way I look at having alcohol while doing what I do allows you to consistently function at like 80 to 85%. And it makes it very easy to function at 80, 85%. If you remove alcohol, it all gets way more difficult, but you're able to hit 100%.
a
That's kind of what it comes down to. Like you drink alcohol, you can just like get right through it. And it's like, but it's like you're not going to be that accurate. You can get pretty fucking accurate, but you won't hit 100%, you
Yeah.
know?
And when you're doing everything else, like you're being so mindful of immunity, sleep, and all of these things, you're
Yeah,
working to really optimize yourself.
for sure.
Alcohol obviously isn't
No.
optimizing. So
No, not optimizing anything.
good
I
for
mean,
you.
let alone like, yeah, like your fucking face gets like your there's aesthetic things that, I don't know how people do it. Like I like to think a lot of people are lying and exaggerating. I know a lot of people are lying and exaggerating with like, bottles of Jack Daniels on stage where it's really just water. Like, that's common. A lot of
Which
people are
is
just full of shit.
concerning,
Like,
like that we think it looks cool, like, well,
yeah, I
not
don't know.
as you and I, but people think that's some sort of
Yeah.
trophy.
Yeah. And then like, yeah, like people that are really drug addicts, like I'm sure the inner work, like it's like what is it like? I'm not a big Grateful Dead fan at all. Like, no disrespect to the Grateful Dead, but it's like we glorified Jerry Garcia and like dude was like a piece of shit. I'm just gonna say, I don't care, like a piece of shit fucking drug addict for like 3 decades. And to my understanding, he was like a total nuisance to everyone around him.
Uh,
Like he was just a massive liability the entire time. So it's like, what are we glorifying here?
yeah.
Like, it's
Well, and if
fucking
you
just
read
saying.
any of the like, I went through a phase in high school reading like all the biographies by like every rock star that ever lived, and like all of them that went through being drug addicts and almost died, and then talk about how awful and miserable and not
Yeah, things weren't good. Like things weren't good. It wasn't funny. It wasn't cute. You know what I mean? It was lame.
Yeah, but I think good for you. Like, I think that you're not that it's necessarily your intention, but you're naturally a role model in that way, because I think it's cool for like I went to a show of yours and it was like 12 and no, was
Was it
there
all?
no,
Where
maybe I'm
was it?
lying. I was at a sorry, I'm getting my wires crossed. I was at a different event at the same location.
Oh,
That
okay, no worries.
all ages, but there was like younger, there was like they must have been of age, but they looked like babies because I'm a 30-year-old lady. So anyway, like they're
Sure.
probably 19, maybe freshly. And I think just even that, like seeing someone who they obviously look up to, like they're singing every single song and you're not drinking, like having a water on stage. I think it gives us all more permission to be like, oh yeah, you can literally be a rock star and
Sure,
be
yeah.
so cool drinking water and be
Well, yeah,
hydrated.
I genuinely hope people think that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I'm sure that naturally is a big component of mental health, just removing alcohol, like as you said, momentary high, and then we all know it's a downer. What else do you do to take care of your mental health? Because I feel like this lifestyle, just the lack of consistency when you're on the road and those various components and being an entrepreneur can be really challenging.
Great question. I know the correct answer is to do transcendental meditation, but I don't do that
I
religiously.
don't know
That
if
is the
that
right answer. I don't want to say like I was explaining this to somebody yesterday. Maybe this is unhealthy, but this is my solution at the very least. Like I have a very, very poor attention span. I just can't pay attention to anything ever. I can't focus on something, but I'm like very, very passionate. And I can be very, very passionate about something like very intensely for a given moment. So my this is this is more business advice, but it's actually mental health advice too, I'd say. And it works for me. And I don't know if it'll work for fucking anyone else. I work on a million things at once. So if I said I had a list, like I work on about 45 songs at a time, which is completely unheard of, where it's like when an artist, and we're talking about artists is like they're part of a band and they have like other people working on it. I'm talking about just me. Like they work on about 10 to 15 songs at a time to make an album, and it takes them 2 years, whereas I'll work on literally 3.5 albums worth of music all at the exact same time in 1 year. So the reason I do that is because it's like I will, like right before I sat down here, I was actually late to this Zoom. I apologize. Was because I was recording something on my phone where I just had like one lyric change I wanted to bang. So I did that, and I was really into that right now. And it doesn't mean I'm going to be into that. And then like this morning, I was really into this Christmas song I'm working on. So I worked on that. I know I have 45 different songs. Like I don't have to show up to work and be like, today I got to work on this. I have no idea ever what I'm doing, but I still work all day because I'm just really, really whatever. And that's just the music part. There's other things. So it's like my mind is able to just go all over the place and work on whatever the fuck it wants to do. And it's really great because when I work on it, I'm really excited about it. And the second I'm not really excited about it, I move on to something else. I don't feel guilty. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's probably like the key to the brilliance of your specific creative
For sure. Works
process.
for me.
You're, when you're forcing yourself to stick on one song, when you're like at a dead end for a minute, like I'm sure you want to bang your head against the wall. Like you lose the passion and excitement about it. So I think I think that is great advice, like for anyone. And so I want to know how did you find your way to music? Because obviously this is the one thing that as a whole you can consistently focus on all the time to the point of making it such a successful career.
Yeah, I think the most honest answer to that is that when you, for me, or when you're like me, I'm sure there are other people like me, you don't choose music. You hate music. Music chooses you. It's like very hard to explain that feeling. But like at a very young age, I just like you just realize. I mean, I was like 5, and I know that seems odd, and you realize like that's all that occupies your brain. Like that's just all you think about. It's just like music. And I think the best way to kind of like explain that is like, this is a stupid, corny analogy, but bear with me. I think like someone like me who just like that, like just that's just what I do. Like I just make music. Like that's just what I don't know how to explain it. It's like this gravity that just keeps pulling over and it just doesn't stop. You think about like in high school or even whatever, like dudes dress a certain way or like they play guitar so they can get laid or they want to be cool. Like there's all this cultural shit that comes with being a being a musician or wanting to be a rock star and all that sort of thing. It's like, I mean, I am a rock star. My life is sick, but like, it's like, I never thought about any of that. It just never mattered. I mean, like I could just like show up in gym clothes to Buffalo. Like just didn't matter. Like none of that mattered. Like everyone had all these other reasons for making music. And I mean, you'll know that about like some of the most successful musicians on earth are like, if I mean, I think being a professional singer songwriter who writes their own songs is the second statistically most impossible profession to make a living off of. But out of those that even do, I'm sure a huge percentage, like they just worked really hard and they aligned certain things with certain people and they're maybe not really that into it. I don't even know. Like it's hard to like they're really into like looking cool or they're just really into getting laid. Like I don't know. Like people can be motivated for all different reasons, but for me it's just like have to just keep making albums. Like we just have to get, I have no, like, I wish I could turn it off. You can't turn it off. So that's that.
Well, you said something on your social media the other day. It was like, how do you know if like what your passion is? Like you don't know, what was it? You said something about
Oh, I said yesterday. Yeah. No, I said like, okay, if you don't know what your passion, like, okay, not your passion, but trying to figure out what your end game is. Like, what is your ultimate form?
right.
Like, what is your ultimate form in life? And my thing is like, figure out what you can't be bought out of doing and then figure out how to do that at the highest level possible. And like that's the thing for me is like if you said like Skrizzly Adams will go on to play at like every stadium in the world, whatever, but every song had to be written by somebody else. Like every single one had to be written by somebody else and I got $10 billion a year. I would say no. It's like, well, that defeats the purpose. Like, I don't want that. Like, that's not for me. You know what I mean? If you can figure that out for yourself, like, that's it. So it's like for me, it's like I love writing my songs and singing them and bringing them to my fans. So it's like, okay, let's be the #1 best-selling person at that. That's what I want to do. You know what I mean? Again, that's still a hard question to figure out. Some people are like, I love watching football. Well, it's like, I don't know. Well, maybe there is a job in there. I don't know. Like,
Yeah. Be the best in the fantasy football league. But I think that's really cool because everyone comes into, if you're a musician, comes into it at different stages of life. I just listened to a podcast with Anthony Kiedis, and he's like, I got started so late. He started at 20, like relative in a music industry, I guess that is really late. You obviously just innately had this ability, like knowing that this was the language that you were meant to speak,
yeah,
essentially.
for
Did
sure.
you grow up in a super musical household?
Um, like definitely very supportive. My mom plays a bunch of like instruments. My family never like worked in like the record business or anything. Like I've been making records since I was 13. But my parents were both very like, I think they just realized that like 9 or 10 or 11 that just was like,
That's it.
this was it. I wasn't gonna do anything else. You know what I mean? Like I would come home from school and it would just be like I had like an 8-track recorder and it was just like I was making records every day, just like making the same thing. Like I mean, fuck, I'll turn the camera here. My studio is like,
Sorry, the
can you
20-year-olds
see the studio in
listening,
there?
the
Like
20-year-olds
just
listening don't
make
know what it's
records all
called.
day. That's just all I do. So yeah,
Amazing.
they kind of realized that, and they were just like, well, that's
Awesome.
it. Yeah,
Awesome. Amazing.
yeah.
So did you take traditional lessons or are you fully self-taught?
Yeah, I mean, I've played like tons of instruments in school and other things, and I've done it all. I don't know what the answer to that is. I guess, I mean, like 99% of what I know is self-taught, but I mean, I was also taught music as a child, so
Yeah.
it's hard to explain. Like, I actually am very like well trained and like theoretically, like I could probably take classes. Like, I could probably understand stuff at Juilliard, like at a high classical level. Doesn't mean I apply any of it. Like all the stuff I do in the studio, I learned from just like I think I rented a studio when I was 19 in Jersey. I rented a warehouse in Jersey City, spent like $15,000 on equipment, and claimed I had a studio and put ads out. I did not know what I was doing, but I like literally had no fucking idea. But I was like, if someone's paying $30 an hour, I better figure it out. You know what I mean?
Good incentive to
Um,
figure it out.
yeah, I'm very big on like my philosophy when I was young was actually really I got to bring this philosophy back. This philosophy when I was young was like it's all about getting in the room. I lived in New York City at the time. So yeah, you got to get in the room. You want to get in the room with somebody. I was like, well, what if I own the room? Like that was my philosophy. Own the room. So I always had the real estate. Now I'm in a fucking basement in Saskatoon. But like, whatever times have changed. I mean, my life has changed. But
Uh, I
very
think
side.
that's a good
Yeah,
entrepreneurial mindset.
for sure.
So you graduated high school. Did you do post-secondary? You were Jewish
Uh,
full-time?
college.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to college at New York University, NYU, New
What did you
York.
take?
Business. There's like
Eh,
music stuff and business stuff, and I
Oh,
graduated. I hated it. I hated it, but I graduated really quick. I just I just banged it out. I just took nonstop classes, banged it out really fast. Got like my producing career kind of off the ground during that time, and as soon as I retired, immediately went into an artist career, and got a record deal shortly after that, and then got out of that record deal 2 years later, and then 1 year after that, my career took off the ground, and here we are. I mean,
amazing.
it was not. It's a long process. All of it's been a long process,
Yeah.
and we have a long way to go. I mean, still a very long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, so excited to see, like, I just feel like since I found your music, the growth has seemed so huge just as from an external perspective. So
That's great.
like in a year, 2 years, I can't even imagine because I feel like the momentum is moving so fast. Were you always a solo artist? Was there part of you that ever wanted to be like front of a band? Did you want to have other instrumentals?
I mean, like, first of all, I have played with a band. Well, okay, Skrizzly Adams is a solo record and a sole entity, but I am bringing musicians on the next tour, hopefully, fingers crossed. But like, in terms of like a business entity, no, fuck that. Like, I am absolutely not. I do not like people. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like people.
Thanks for tolerating this hour. I really appreciate it.
I don't want to fucking share creative
Yeah.
stuff with people. I don't want to share money with people. I don't want to share shit. If this ship is gonna crash and burn, I'm crashing and burning on this shit alone. Like that's just serious. Like if I'm obsessed as I am about this, where it's 24/7, 365, and you're gonna be in my band, you better be as obsessed. And I've not met a single fucking person like that. So it's like you're not like if you play drums on the record, cool, good for
Yeah.
you. You know what I mean? I hate if I sound arrogant saying this, but it's like I
Oh,
put over 3,000 hours in this last album alone. Like 3,000 hours in the last album. We're on the
wow.
third album. I'm gonna make over 100 albums. Do the math.
There's
Like again, like I've sacrificed every dollar I've made, like every dollar. So it's like until I meet someone who's as all in as me, I would never do it, you know?
But I think that's probably so smart. Like that could have been sage advice for a lot of people who like there's, some of the most famous bands in the world where it all fell apart because I'm sure
Oh, of
that
course. I mean, I look at fucking I mean, it's different. I mean, I think about Creedence Clearwater Revival. It's like John Fogerty was doing everything. Like they had Creedence Clearwater Revival, CCR.
yeah,
Yeah, like they had fucking they were like the biggest thing on earth next to the fucking Beatles. I think they're outstreaming the Stones right now. People don't realize how big
really.
CCR is. And they only were around for like 3 fucking years, 2 albums a year for fucking 3 years. John wrote every single song, sang every song. He did fucking everything. They signed the worst record deal in history where he never made $1 off it until like a year ago, which is crazy. And it's like yeah, like I like and like no shit, they all fell apart. And that was they were his it was his brother was in the band. They were like blood related. They don't talk anymore. Like I don't know, it ain't easy.
Yeah. Well, you get, not that you're in it for glory, but like you're working that hard and you get all the credit. And you also know that the risk is if you're not putting in all of that effort, it's on you. Like there's probably a really good momentum component of being solely supported by yourself.
Oh, for sure. And it's also just like, I mean, as humans, we're flawed. Like even me, I got really excited and arrogant there for a second. Like we're flawed. Like when something goes wrong, like we all can't take accountability at the perfect proportion. It's like it's not fucking easy, you know? It's like marriage. Like what don't like 70% of marriages fail? Like it's failed technology. Like it's crazy.
I was
So
literally thinking about marriage as you were saying that
like
about
you really
art.
think like four dudes in a fucking van like that are like every success they divide equally, every failure they divide equally. A lot of egos, a lot of fucking accountability issues are gonna run into each other, you know.
Yeah.
In the cases where they have worked, and I will give the people that have done this so much fucking credit. I know U2 is an example of this. No matter what, they divide everything equally. It doesn't matter who wrote what, who did what. Everyone gets paid fucking equally. All drama goes out the window. That has worked really fucking well for them. More power to you too. I don't know.
So what do you feel like, what was because you kind of said like do you say the last year? When do you think things really started taking off? What was the catalyst?
Oh, I mean, it's like some days are better than others. Some days are trash. I mean, it will always be like this. I mean, for me, the turning point without question was I think it was October or November 2018. That was when I mean, before that, I was not making a living off music. I was making like $1,200 a month off music, not enough to live off. I was a Lyft driver, was doing other jobs. And then Dance with Darkness went viral in Germany. It went Germany, Switzerland, Austria, went to #1 on the Spotify viral charts. And that went from like that to making like 5 times the amount of money in a month. And then like that happened. And then, but more importantly with that was like, you went from like getting a few fans a day to getting like 75 to 100 new fans a day for like a very long wave. And then they all kept coming and they kept coming. And then it was like, and then obviously that dies down. That obviously that buzz died down, but I kept delivering new music. And then, more people are showing up every day. And I mean, certain, does that make sense? That
Yeah.
answer your question? But
Yeah.
that made me from an aspiring artist to a professional artist.
That's amazing though. I think like that takes so much passion and resilience to be doing basically, it's like 2 full-time jobs. Like you're putting this much effort into it and still having to support yourself financially through another means.
For sure.
How do you know, like, are you able to track through the analytics, like why and how did it go viral in Germany?
I don't know. I don't know exactly, but it was okay. It was someone did this. There was a human being who did this. So I would love to thank that person. I don't know how to get a hold of them. Because it was funny because the record was put out through TuneCore, which is like the most DIY. Like it costs $10. Like it's a gold record, and it was out through TuneCore. So a lot of people say like that's not possible. Like that definitely is possible. I literally uploaded $10, pushed whatever, and that was it. There was no like, there was nothing. There weren't salespeople. That wasn't a thing. And again, there wasn't a pitch form. There wasn't anything. So I don't know. I don't know. But someone in Germany heard the record before it came out, and they put it on Indie Brand New, like spelt all German like, which
Okay.
was like some indie whatever, like brand new indie rock playlist, and it went on there. And essentially, like Spotify an 84 has like an 84 point has an 84 point like data system. It's like a score of 1 to 100, and it's like your ticket sales, how many followers you got on Instagram, at what point in the song they stopped listening to it, at what point they heard it. There's a
Oh,
million it's a really smart computer system. Whatever it did, it just crushed. It was in front of the German people, and it just crushed, and it went like right to number one. And then they added it to this other thing and it went right to number one. They added to another and went right to number one. And then it became like the most viral song in those three countries. Essentially, was someone gave it an opportunity to get in front of that audience, and they just fucking loved it. Why? I have no fucking idea. I can look at the data now, and it's like the top 50, like only 2 of them are in America, and like Toronto, Vancouver, Chicago, LA. You know what I mean? All the rest are like Germany. You know what I mean? So that just really crushed it there. And but that bolstered the numbers, and that made everything bigger, and it just brought new people to the table, and
yeah.
I mean, it gave me more credibility, I guess.
Yeah. What a unique time to be an artist where you
Oh, for
can
sure.
do so much virtually. Like,
That, yeah.
I mean, a blessing and a curse maybe, because it creates more competition and like more to sift through to be seen as an artist, but also there's nothing stopping anyone. Like you were just telling me before we press record, like iPhone recording is great quality. Like you
Yeah.
can make do with very little to get stuff going.
This is what I will say, and I think it's ultimately for the better. Okay, I think John Mayer made this analogy, and just bear with me. It's like in the days of John Mayer, they had to get 100 million people to know you exist, so that 1 million would listen to your record. Okay, it'd be this huge splash and whatever. Now with all this data fucking shit, like instead of hitting 100 million people so that 1 million like it, we bring it right to the million that we know we're going to like it, and that's it. So essentially, out of those 100 million that had to be fed John Mayer and 99% didn't like it, we now just bring 100 different artists to the one, which is exactly what happened with the Germany. And I think about myself, and it's like I meet new people, and it's like I have 300 million streams, gold record, my face is tattooed on people's bodies. Like, but outside of that, nobody knows I exist. Why? Because the computer brought me right to the people who were gonna like me. I didn't need like a superstar artist is hated by 95% of the mass population, but the 5% is enough to make them the best selling thing on earth. That's the thing people don't realize.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
the like Spotify made for you. That's exactly how I found your stuff.
yeah,
I'm like,
it
perfect.
finds people that are going to like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Also,
totally.
can we just get back to people have you tattooed on them because that's wild.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, my handwriting's tattooed on like a lot of people's bodies.
Wow.
Uh, but I know one woman in Arizona, her whole thigh is my face.
How does that make you feel?
Her body, her choice. That's it. I don't
You
know.
know, that's
She
just
asked
like
my permission. I'm like, you don't have to ask permission. You do whatever you want. Like,
that has to be a surreal moment the first time someone gets a tattoo of you. Like that's wild.
yeah, I don't. I
Like the
guess I don't
highest
know what to say.
compliment.
I mean,
Well,
yeah, she's got free tickets for life now. I'll tell you that
oh yeah, how
much.
do you say no to
Flash
that?
that thigh. Yeah, like
Hold on,
it's
everyone
big. Like it's a big
listening.
thigh.
That is so cool. So how do you feel like you found your fan base? Like you're pretty active on Instagram as well. Do you feel
For
like
sure.
social media was a big catalyst to that?
No, not at all. Actually, I want to make a post about that. That's a great question. You're like, social media is so fucking irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. It's not irrelevant. You can, if you're smart, you can use it to your advantage like crazy. And I use it as a way of connecting with the, 5% of fans that want to engage with me on whatever. But it's such a small, like, okay, this is the analogy I'll make. This will probably answer the question for you. It's like I saw a guy on TikTok who had 14 million followers, and he made short form skits. So he invested $40,000 and shot a short film. So it's still, apples to apples, like short form skits to a short film. And he did a premiere online that anyone can access. Anyone in any part of the world can access. And he has 14 million followers. I think it just cost $9 admission, something like that. I think it was like nine people, like 9 people
Oh,
accessed his movie. Like, bro. Okay, so but you're like,
oh,
So maybe 14 million followers a month. And I think about myself, it's like every time I post a picture from my show or the flyer of the show, there are more people at the show who paid for tickets than liked the picture of the show, which doesn't cost any money, and you can be anywhere in the world and just click whatever. I'll drop a song tonight at midnight. I'm going to do a post about it in the morning. Okay. We'll get between 60 and 160 likes probably. We're going to get, oh, wow. Yeah, we're going to get, we'll get about over 20,000 streams that day. So that's like 200 times as many people listen to the song than say, cool, new song.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. And like, there's so many examples of people, these massive social media followings, and they drop merch and it's like, nobody bought anything.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter. For me, it's like a good way of like just maybe the people who care getting to know me and like getting to know what I'm about. And that's, maybe they'll feel deeper with me, or maybe they'll like me less. I don't really know.
Well, it's like I mean, I'm sure you've heard it, 100 true fans. 100 true fans
For
is
sure.
like the John Mayer thing. Like those are the people who are going to buy. Those are the people going to support
For
you.
sure.
If people unfollow or they don't like those were never probably the people that were going to invest in
For
you.
sure. Leaning into authenticity always kind of pays off in
Yeah.
the long run. Yeah.
Good for
Yeah,
you. What, how did you find, like, I think you have a really unique sound and it's a cool balance to me. I mean, I'm like, pardon my ignorance speaking about music. I'm definitely not an expert other than I like to listen to it, but like you know that it's your sound, but it's not like everything sounds cookie cutter, which I think is a hard balance to find. Like, I don't want to name names, but certain bands were like, it's the band, but every song sounds the same. How did you find your sound? Like, do you have an inspiration, music that you pulled from? Do you feel like you just naturally always like lean towards a certain
For
sound?
sure. Well, first off, that's like the ultimate compliment. So thank you. Like, definitely. Like, I appreciate that. And that's like what that's the thing I strive for. I really do want it. Like, the second the record comes on, it's like you instantly know it's me and that it only feels like my record. At the same time, I want every record to sound different. That's like the goal, which I know is kind of shunned upon, actually. Like, I know, like, that's like, of every record executive I've ever worked with and met, like, that was the insult. And they're like, it all just sounds different. I'm like, no, it all just sounds like me and my fans. And it's like, well, that was my thing. Is like the Beatles, like every Beatles single sounded different, and that's what made the record so successful. There's a lot of other artists like that where it's like they covered a lot of ground in their thing, but it all just sounded like them. And because of that, it's like we live in 2023. We don't listen to albums anymore. We put on a playlist and it's 20 different artists. So now it's like you kind of get that feeling. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So my answer to that is the answer is I just do what I want to. I just try to do what I want to hear. Like it's like when I'm making a record, I'm like I do what I want to hear, and like throughout that, I've kind of gathered a lot of tricks and things that like work really. I know what works really well for me, and I figured out like it's like in its essence, most of my songs are extremely similar. I just have these little tricks that work really well for me, and the fact that I use them over and over and over again is what allows it to be homogenous, even though it's. I think I would just get bored if it was like I love AC/DC. This is a bad analogy, but every AC/DC song sounds the same. You know what I mean? Like it's the exact same formula. I think I would just get bored if that was the case, where it's like two guitars, bass, drums, vocal. Like I would just get bored. So like I like fucking around. You know.
I like how you talk about this because so much of it is, I mean, it's a business and obviously you have a business background. It makes so much sense because so often when we talk to, founders of a company, they're solving a problem, like the product didn't exist, so they made it. You want to make what you want to listen to.
Here, yes, that's exact what I was trying to say. Yes.
Cool.
I actually I didn't start singing until my late 20s. Not my late 20s, my early 20s, very much so. I mean, I sang, but singing wasn't my objective. I didn't choose to sing, but I sang out of a necessity to what I was trying to make something. There was this gravity of trying to make this thing. And it's like, well, I need to sing in order to do that. You know what I mean? It was a necessity thing. So yes, very much so problem solving. And you get better at singing to solve more problems, if that makes sense.
Well, and probably more and more efficient in the songwriting process as well. Like, do you find now, like from even 2018 to now, are you able to make 45 songs way more rapidly, like knowing these efficiencies?
A lot of yes. It's it's definitely like a business that starts out as like a mom and pop shop that turns into a factory. And I hate to use the word factory, but very much so for me was like 2014 to 19, I could only write 2 to 3 songs a year. They were all winners, but 2 to 3 songs a year. Along the way, I met a friend named Bryce Fox, who's another artist, and he was one of the only co-writers I would work with. But I realized, I met a million people along the way too. He was the only person I realized who, every time I sat down with him, a great song would come after 30 minutes. So I got him to be an executive producer on my second album, and I think we made like 40, 50 songs in 1 year. And then I realized that, and then I had this idea, and I wasn't going to be seeing Bryce for a while, so I just said, like, let me just do it. It's like sports, definitely, like athleticism. It's like when you believe you can do it is when you can do it. It's all a confidence thing. So that the song was New Dress, actually. That came out a couple years ago, and I just remember I was like, what's stopping me from just sitting down and doing this? Like, there were so many things in your mind. I was like, so I just picked it up and just did it, and I was like, oh, great. And then the next day I could do it again, and then I was like, oh, now I have complete control. I can do whatever I want. Hold on one sec. Sorry, distraction.
Okay. When you write 45 songs, like for every song you write, I imagine not everything makes it on the album. For every like 50 songs you write, how many do you throw away, or does
everything comes out?
Everything comes out.
I mean, we're backlogged, but like everything's coming out.
Oh.
There's not a bad. That sounds cocky, but there isn't a bad song. Like, I don't have one that I know of. I got whiteboards over there full of them. Like, everything's gonna come out at some point or another. There's nothing I'm embarrassed by.
It's like work it till it's good enough.
What's up? Yeah, no, I don't know. Like, if it wasn't good, I would stop writing after 5 minutes. Like, I knew it was good. Like, yeah.
Do you, when you release a single, like, do you have a sense that like, I know this is a hit, or are there songs that you release that like you don't think is a hit and then it surprises you?
Yes, all the time. Can we pause for 1 second and knock on my door?
Yep, absolutely.
Sorry. Sorry.
It's okay. This is why we edit.
Sorry, and I have to edit. Okay, we are back.
Okay. I don't have to edit. Someone else has to.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, because I always like, we listening to like legends of music. I feel like you always hear those stories where they're like, oh yeah, we almost didn't put that on the album, and it was like our #1 hit for the rest.
Okay, yeah. I'm wrong about this 100% of the time. Like, I am very confident to say I am never right, ever. I'm trying to reverse, like, there's an episode of Seinfeld where George Costanza realized if he does the opposite of everything he thinks, he gets all the ladies and he gets all the money and everything's great. And I'm trying to think, like, maybe it's the opposite, but that's not right either. I am just never fucking right about anything. I could not be more wrong. Like, Dance with Darkness, like, before it came out and that changed my life, I was about to pull it and be like, I don't like it. Like, it was just like, I can't. I'm too humiliated by how bad it is. Crazy. Yeah, I'm never right about anything.
But I think that's probably good motivation to like, yeah, release everything, because you literally don't know. And when you've heard so much of yourself too, I'm sure it does get to a point where you can't be objective, right? Like, you're not hearing it for the first time. Like,
I am
a fan.
I'm exactly, and that's why it's just like, I put out fucking everything. I give everything a shot. Like, I'm not precious. Like, it's just like, people are, and again, like, and also like, certain songs in certain cities, like, it's religion. Certain songs in a different city, it's not religion, and you're just like, whatever. It serves its like, even like, and here's another thing, like, on my second album, I have a song called Burnout, and like, I almost feel like it's understood amongst my like hardcore fans that is the best song I've ever made. Like, it's just like so understood. When we played at the shows, like, it's nuts. It has like 70,000 streams. It's like my biggest flop ever. Like, it's just such a massive flop. It's made me $300. Like, it just couldn't have been a bigger flop. But it's so loved at the same time. So I don't know.
Okay, I have to go. I don't think I've heard it. I'm gonna go find it.
Oh, Burnout. Yeah, Burnout's tracked. Yeah, I think the second round of audience just hasn't heard it. You know what I mean? It's the last song on the second album. That's why.
I mean, that's a really good point too, because with the algorithm, it's like what it spits out to you to listen to. Like, I think Redemption maybe was the first song that it just like one day came on my Made for You Spotify.
Okay,
every single time you release a new song, Spotify gives it to me. I don't even have to like seek it out. But tell me how you ended up in Saskatoon, because speaking of
Okay, yeah,
like songs that are certain religion, you've
sure,
literally now got
Saskatoon,
a
yeah.
Saskatoon song.
Well, Saskatoon, my home. Saskatoon. Okay, a lot of answers for that, but let's talk about why Saskatoon's great first. First
Mhm.
off, again, you Saskatoonian people are spoiled. You do not realize how great your city is because everyone asks me this every day, everywhere I go, and I'm like, Saskatoon's a really, really solid city. You do
Yay.
not realize that. Okay, it's really clean. It is really fucking clean here. I'm comparing it to all the other cities in America that are, a 250,000 people to 500,000 people. They're all fucking filthy. They're all filled with old people. The cities in America are look like they're made in like 1940s. Like and they haven't made progress since then. Like the bigger cities are different. I'm talking about the smaller cities. Like it's just not like it's Saskatoon's really clean. Lots of small businesses, a lot of culture, a lot of community. The people here are really friendly. It's really cheap to live here, even though you guys don't think it's really cheap to live here. Let me show you, it's really cheap to live here in the grand scheme of things. And then so that's that. It's a great city. It's won that. I mean, like I can think of other cities in America that are great, but like Saskatoon's up, is up there with them. It's kind of like Ohio. Like Ohio is actually like a great state, but everyone just kind of clowns on it. Like Ohio has a lot to offer, and everyone I know that moved there like loves it. Like everyone's making fun of it. I don't care. Like it's fucking great here. I'm from New Jersey in New York City, which is the most densely populated area of like ever, other than like India and Asia or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how many people are in New Jersey. Like Saskatoon's like this big, New Jersey's like this big. In Saskatoon, there's 1 million people. In New Jersey, there's 9 million people. It's crazy. Like, hey, so there's 30,000 people in this town, bordering a 100-person town, bordering 30,000, or bordering 40. It's just like it's just people, just grids of people. And at a certain point in my life, I'm like, I want the opposite of that. And Saskatchewan is definitely the opposite of that. I mean, I want to live outside the city eventually. That's the goal. I want to live outside the city.
I can send you some homesteading podcast. I've been deep diving the idea of
Oh,
how.
nice. That would be great. Yeah, no, I'm really into it. Okay, also, this is the thing. I can say this as an American. It's like a lot of rural America is kind of creepy. Rural Canada, not very creepy. I don't know why it is. Rural Canada is more like nature, peace. It's just like I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just like very
It's
peaceful.
because it's the prairies. You can see what's coming, So like at least.
Yes. You can see what's coming. Exactly. I like the flatlands. I like the flatlands. Like I definitely would take the flatlands over the mountains. I know people prefer like Alberta and all that, but I like the flat. I mean, my family's also all from the Midwest of Indiana, so like I'm used to. I'm like this is Saskatchewan's the Midwest of Canada.
The Midwest of Canada. Our new tagline, Saskatchewan is
Yes.
Midwest of Canada.
Yeah.
No, I really appreciate the perspective because I say it all the time. If we lived, most people, we either grew up in a small town and end up here or grew up in Saskatoon, and you forget to take advantage of everything the city has to offer because it's just always been there. And when you come to the city as a tourist or as someone new to the city, you appreciate the beauty, you appreciate the river, you go out and do things like you're playing on a slow pitch team, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you make those connections for the first time. So, and you're playing smarter, not harder by leaving for the winter. So,
Yes. Exactly.
yeah. Where are you
Exactly.
going for the winter? Back to Jersey or to
I'm gonna go to California for a bit, then Texas for a bit, and then I'm gonna be based out of New Jersey. New Jersey's still cold. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if I think I might visit some friends in Mexico. I might get down to Florida. I don't know. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm not gonna be here for the winter. If
yeah,
I'm here for the winter, I need to have like a really nice home and like a good truck and like a bigger jacket, that sort of thing.
yeah. Invest in the jacket. That's worth it.
Yes, worth the
So,
investment.
how did you end up in Saskatoon?
How
And
did
like,
I
do
end up
you
in Saskatoon
consider
for
this
sure?
your home base now?
Yeah, there was I shout out the Yannis. They are a family from Yorkton, and
I heard
two
about this.
years ago, I posted them on my thing. They're like this couple. They're awesome. Justin, Jana, what's going on, guys? And they booked during COVID. I played a ton of private parties. During COVID, I played a ton of them. They booked me for a private party in Yorkton, and they flew me out there. And I had an online friend, Katrina, who the song was about. She's done the artwork, and she lives right up there. And she offered to house me while I was here. So they flew me out. I played the concert. I stayed here for a couple days. and like I guess I just really liked it, and I guess they really liked the concert. So a few months later, they did it again, and then I flew back, and then I stayed with Katrina here like I think a week or two. I like lived here for a bit, and I was like, oh, I like it here. And then like there's always little things like I know Katrina's mom owns a bar in North Battleford, and I started playing shows here. I think I did. Yeah, we did. I've done a good amount of like in Saskatchewan. I've started just doing like little things here and just like hanging out, and then yeah, I just at one moment I realized like I didn't like being in New Jersey, and I was paying a fortune to live there, like 4 times as much. It was crazy. And then I told Katrina that, and she's like, "Oh, just come live with me." You know what I mean? And she offered me a place really cheap, and I have a good friend group here and like a network, and I feel like I have people. I feel like if I had a crisis, like there wouldn't be an issue. So that was kind of it. Yeah,
Just organic. Like that's amazing.
it was
Also,
very
it's funny
organic.
that you say that because I remember I found your music and I must have just like started putting on like, I don't know, during COVID, I think, like doing yoga and I like put
Yeah,
your
yeah,
song on it. And a client of mine was at that show in Yorkton and
really.
she was like, he was just here. And that's so I heard about that show, which is so cool. And I think it's really refreshing to know like you can build a new community through like starting
Oh,
through
I
social
feel like
media.
I've built more of a community here than I've built anywhere, and it's not even by I mean, I've been proactive, but more so just by being here. Like, it is like and the people are nice here, like, I run into people at the bar, I run into people at the supermarket, like, I yeah, like, it's like, on Instagram, Saskatoon is my 3rd biggest city in the entire world of people that follow me just from, I think, just being here. Um, kind of back to the other question was, like, I get the sense that Saskatoon is going somewhere. I get this like if I were a billionaire, I would buy up as much property in Saskatchewan as possible because I feel like it's going somewhere. I don't get that feeling. I don't want to insult other US cities, but I don't get that feeling in most US cities. Obviously, there are some cities that are obviously booming, like Austin and Nashville, but most other cities do not. They don't feel that way. I feel like most of the smaller cities, especially, they're going to be ghost towns in 20 years. I'm sure of it. And Saskatchewan's not. It's going to be the opposite. I'm sure of it.
Well, and I think similar to what you said, like it's so compacted in so many of those cities. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are seeking more space,
Yes,
and
for sure.
Saskatchewan still has so much space that can be
The
filled.
suburbs are going to build up, or whatever the term is here. It's funny actually that Justin Yanni, who flew me out, we were just chatting about that. It's like country music has become so popular in the last year, and I think it has less to do with actual music and more to do with when COVID happened. Like people are just like they kind of want to move out to the country, like that. There's a lot of appeal to that lifestyle. Like younger people, it's like my parents' generation didn't want that, but like mine does. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
so
almost a reversion back to like 2 generations ago, I think.
very much so. Like
Yeah,
we
I'm
want a
ready.
simpler way of living. Like cost of living is too high. Like everything is too much. Like this isn't worth it. We want to simplify it. You know what I mean? I think the boomers who wanted to just build up everything, like our generation does not want that. We're like fuck that.
Yeah, like we both posted cows on our social media story on the same day. I'm like, I'm ready for baby cows and chickens. Like, sign me up. I'm just ready.
Awesome. That's
But I
great.
think you made a good point too. Like with inflation here, everything seems really expensive relative what it has been in Saskatoon. But overarching still, we have a really low cost of living for what you get. And I always think like it allows more flexibility in other ways, like if you can afford to travel and things like that. So yeah, I think it's a
Yes.
great base. I love that you can appreciate it from an outsider's perspective. It's just really refreshing to hear.
For
And
sure.
now you've created us an anthem. So no doubt, Saskatoon, we should be your number 1 city. Come on.
Yeah, we'll get there. This time next year, we'll do it. We'll do the podcast again this
Yeah,
time next
we'll
year.
see
And
where
we'll
you're
look
at.
forward to it being number one.
Uh, but I think it is cool because it's just like very rarely acknowledged, in music and in art. So it's cool. And you have a song launching tonight, releasing tonight,
Yes.
which it will
Yes.
already be live by the time this goes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about that song, and then what is the process? Because you're releasing singles right now, an album coming out when?
September 22nd, 3 year stint, third album comes out. This is the last single to it.
September 22nd.
Um,
Oh my God, it's a Friday. Okay.
let's see if I can play it real quick. I don't know if I remember. Yeah, I don't even remember. I should be prepared for this interview question. Hold on. promise something I don't know. I'm better left here on my own. And if the car breaks down, yeah, you'll know what you lost, 'cause I'm here in the rearview mirror. It's all downhill from here. It's all downhill from here. I know you're craving something, something you can't control. I hope those brakes are pumping. Something like that. I don't know. But I
Amazing.
don't really
Thank
figure it
you
out.
so
Yeah,
much.
I think we just had that song. I don't know. But okay, I'll try to make this quick. Like you talk about how like I cover like all my songs kind of sound different. There's like this Garth Brooks quote, and Garth Brooks like said like I have 6 different types of songs, and every time I make a record, I'm filling in one of those 6 slots.
Mm.
And like now that I'm on album 3, I have like I call them like Americana epics, like very Bruce Springsteen inspired, where they're very like stadium anthem kind of things, but they're like Americana songs. They're not like they're like it could be like like a folk record or an Americana record, but for me it's like stadium kind of sounding. You know what I mean? It's like very driving, and they're usually kind of longer, and they have different passages. Like so for me, it was like Because It's Wrong was on the first album, and then Burnout was the Americana epic off Ye Foolish, and then Breaks is the Americana epic off 3 Year Stint. So I was just trying to fill. I wasn't trying to fill that spot. It naturally filled that spot, but when you produce it, it's just like the big stadium chant and it'll all make sense when you hear it. But like
Yeah.
it's you kind of learn from what you've done in the past. Like, oh, that really worked on Because It's Wrong. So
Well, I'm thinking about the show of yours that I was at, and I feel like even when like those are the songs everyone knows the words, because I feel like to all your songs, like your fans
yeah,
are so
yeah,
dedicated. But
for
those
sure,
ones where like everyone is up and singing them, like it
for sure.
really is an anthem. And I think you do like those songs. That makes sense that that's kind of the feel behind it, because I think a lot of your stuff sounds very classic. Like it sounds like you've
It's
made.
try to be like I don't want it to be like it's funny. Like you could on my records, you could so it's someone makes a record, it sounds so much like the 80s. I'm like, it sounds like it's from the 70s, but it sounds like it's from the 80s as well. It sounds like it's from the 90s, it sounds like it's from the 2000s, it sounds like it's from the 2010s. It's equally inspired by the last 5 decades.
All the genre. Do you have music that inspires you? Like, do you listen to everything under the sun? Do you have a certain genre? Do you have favorite
Yeah.
bands that you listen to?
I mainly listen to like what I listen to isn't necessarily what inspires me. Like I mainly listen to like country music, just like in my truck listening to country music.
Saskatchewan boy things.
Well, yeah, just prairie boy shit, just typical prairie
The
boy
New
shit.
Jersey type.
I mainly listen to that. But like I hear that and like it doesn't inspire me like at all. I'm just like, oh, I'm definitely not doing that on a record. Like that sounds like really generic. Like I know not to do that. Yeah. It's like these last 3 songs sounded exactly the same. We're not doing that. But I enjoy it. It's passive listening. But I mean, like I don't know. I just get into I get into my artists. I get into songs I like. I just like what I like. I mean, just again, like I like what I like, and I took it all and I made what I like. Like I love Kanye West. Like I'm a huge Kanye West guy, but I don't listen to him every day. You know what I mean? But I'll put on an album like once a week and be like, oh my, like this is amazing. Like holy shit.
What do you feel like inspires your lyrics and writing process? Like, is it generally life lessons
Life,
and
just
stories?
life. Yeah,
Like lots of.
life. I'm big on like for me, it's like so I'm very big on improvisation. Like improvisation is everything to me. So it's like an actor is a method actor. I'm like the equivalent of that as like a singer, I guess, where it's just like I find like I'll just I don't fucking like I'll just have like a word or like I'll have something. I don't know, and that something is like a feeling, and that feeling is me in the kitchen on Zoom with you, wanting like that's the thing. Like it's hard to explain. It's like a very specific feeling. When you have a very specific feeling, and then you just hit play, and like I'll like so a lot of my songs are like just very improvised, and you'll do that, and then you'll be like, okay, that was really cool, and like we'll fill in the gaps there, and we'll work backwards. Whereas like a Nashville or an LA approach is very like we're writing a song about heartbreak and it's like very mathematical, and I'm like I'm not a wordsmith by any means. My it sounds good, like, it works for my voice and it sounds good with me and it feels good. If it feels
Yeah.
good and I'm excited about it, That's it. Check,
Sound
check, check. Done.
formula.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you listen to music, you must listen to it? Is it okay? How can you actually just sit back and
I can
listen,
explain
or
it,
are you
yeah. I don't
constantly
listen to the words at
analyzing?
all. That's the crazy thing. When I listen to music, I don't listen to the words at all. I have to be like, "Oh, what's the song actually about? Let me dive into it then." First is just like, how does it make me feel? The biggest thing with music is how does it make you feel? And when you're writing, you're reverse engineering a feeling. And I've heard Pharrell Williams talk about that. Like when you hear something, you're like, oh my God, this feels like the song feels great. Well, we're gonna reverse engineer that feeling to make my own song. It's not copying, it's reverse engineering the feeling. So it's a feeling, and then it's like, and in my head, it's I'm not thinking about it. It's like, okay, well, it's chords kind of like this, you know, at this kind of a speed, and like the vocals here, and then the things are down there, then the vocal goes down here, and the things go up there, and you're kind of figuring all those things out. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm doing when I'm listening. I'm just like, okay, this is fire.
Yeah.
Um, and like, yeah, like you listen to someone like Kanye West, and there's so much like interesting things happening. You're just um, like yeah, like Kanye West sounds totally different than everybody else, and everything he does sounds different. It's just like where did he come up with these ideas? I don't know.
I think it's so interesting because the mind of a musician, like I just know that when you're listening to music, you're having a totally different experience. Well, everyone's experiencing music
For sure.
differently, but you're analyzing these pieces that to me as
I
like the
hear all the details. I
listener
hear
would
all
just
the
be,
details, and
yeah,
it's like if when someone's off time or something's out of tune, like I can hear that immediately, and that's
yeah.
fine because it's great when it is. You know what I mean?
Like I
But
wouldn't
that,
do it, but it's fine.
yeah, no, I'm out of tune and off time all the time. I'm very much imperfect, but like you just like I notice when it is. You know what I mean?
Oh, I mean, that's a really great point though. I actually think one of like the beautiful things about like you being solo on stage with the guitar is it's so pure and it's not meant to be, it's never going to be like perfect.
No,
It's
no,
never
no, no,
going to
no.
be replicated every show.
Well,
Like,
that's what I love about it. It's like it's not it's every night. It's like I'll play the same song totally different the second night. My voice will have a totally different tone one night. Like I'll speed it up, slow it down, stop right in the middle, start talking, like whatever. Like whatever
yeah,
you want to do at that moment is what you got. You know,
yeah. And even like based on the crowd and the environment and like I'm sure acoustics in the room and all of those things make such a big
you're
difference.
feeding off
Like
a million different things.
show to
Yeah,
show. That's awesome. I think it is incredible. Also, I've never heard that stat that this is the second hardest job in the world. Do you know what the first hardest is?
supposedly a choreographer.
No shit. Wow. Well,
I
you're,
think there's just so low demand for
yeah,
it. Yeah.
it's really cool to know that you've built this up for yourself and are taking care of yourself while doing it. Do you feel like being in Saskatchewan has been helpful to your fitness journey? Because I want to just touch on that before
Yes.
we
Oh
go.
yeah, 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 for
Because
sure, for
you
sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah.
told me you've been on this.
Shout out Cat Ray, Katrina upstairs. She introduced me to Chase. Chase, I don't know Chase's last name at Pro Elite. Shout out Pro Elite. And we've been training pretty much every day. I've gained 20 pounds. I think like 15 of it's muscle. I don't feel fat, so that's pretty good. Um, and yeah, I've just life is simple. I walk by the river. I don't do much. I kind of avoid people. I go to the gym in the morning. Like, yeah, the three of us, we all go to the gym every morning and get the fucking job done. And that's it. And that's the thing I'm most looking forward to coming back in May is just like really, really taking that to the next level full
And then
time.
you're going on tour when?
I'm like always on tour.
Oh,
I'm never, I don't know. Yeah, we're announcing a new tour in a couple days. It's like there's just always shows. Just
yeah. I do feel like
there's
every day
always
that
singles coming out and
it's,
there's always shows. And that might be the way it is until I die. So there's never not something on the calendar.
well, you love what you do. So
Yeah, exactly. Why not? I'd rather, what else would I be
amazing.
doing? Like, what
And
am I supposed to do?
are you gonna take, well, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing since the age of 5 by the sounds of it. Are
Yeah.
you gonna take actual holidays? Because I was really excited to see you posted you took your first real
Oh,
holiday.
I went to Vegas, yeah, for 2 days. But also I went to Vegas because Holiday Inn Express gave me it for free and I had vouchers. So like the motivating factor was like I had all this free stuff and I had to take advantage of it or else I would be losing money. So in terms of spending money, I don't know. I mean, my thing is like I'm thinking about going down to Mexico for a bit, but I'll be like writing music while I'm there. Like my whole life's a vacation. Like yeah, what do you like?
Oh,
It's all good. Like yeah, like I plan on like doing like a harvesting, like a song harvesting thing in Mexico.
cool. I mean, that really, I think sounds you found the perfect job if you can do it every day for the rest of your life and don't feel like you really need a holiday.
No, yeah, totally. No, it's like, yeah, you kidding me? Like I was by the pool in Vegas, I was like, I want to get things done. Like this
Yeah.
sucks.
Do you have any stuff going on in Saskatchewan before you take off for the winter?
No, I do not.
All right.
Oh wait, no, actually, yes, no, Katepwa. I'm playing Katepwa, which is a beach by Regina, on Saturday, the 1st, no, the 2nd of September. It's
Oh,
free. It's
wait,
gonna be
that's in
sick.
like in 2
The
days.
3 days, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
This won't be up by then,
Yeah,
but
no, it's all good. Well, if you were there, thank you for coming.
yeah, we hope it was a great time, and we'll all stream. I'm gonna make it my mission to personally get Burnout like 5,000 new listens.
That
Just
would be amazing.
put it
It's a
on
good
loop.
one.
I'll
Yeah,
just put it
please.
on loop. You don't even have to. I'll listen, but you don't even have to listen. You could just rack up
Yeah,
the.
put it on loop. Yeah.
And thank you so much for your time. I
You're
am
welcome.
so excited to have you in Saskatoon, and I think you're a great addition to the community, and
Be here.
making great music. So thanks a lot, and I will have you back in a year to see how that
We can do
platform.
6 months. It's all good. All
Perfect.
right, well, I appreciate it. Thank you for your
It'll
time.
keep you accountable. Every 6 months, we'll do a Skrizzly Adams check-in.
Wellness update, yeah.
Yeah,
That's good. That makes me have to keep improving my wellness
yeah,
because it's
I
a
like it. We'll hold each other accountable. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
okay, see ya. Bye.